Hey everybody, today is April 16th, and today we're going to look at the price of Bitcoin and whether we can finally break through this Fibonacci resistance level and go up higher, perhaps up to $80,000, or whether we're going to roll over, come back down, and perhaps retest this short-term moving average on the 50-day simple moving average around 55,000. Before we get into the video, please read this disclaimer, and you can pause this video as you read it. Okay, so our last video on Wednesday, we talked about how we finally broke through this Fibonacci level. But of course, Fibonacci levels tend to act as support or resistance level, so we saw the strong push down. But I also talked about how I wanted to see us hold 60,000 at the very least, right? Because in the past, we spent so much time trying to break above 60,000, right? Back in March, and then again this month several times, but finally we had a clean, strong break a couple days ago, all the way up to just below 65,000. But again, rolling over a little bit, some people taking profits. But also we talked about the risk of the pi cycle top indicator crossing. And now that crossed on Tuesday, which is 3 days ago. And we'll talk more about this after we do our technical analysis. Yes, there's certain risk factors that may cause Bitcoin to pull back a little bit before we continue going higher. And we'll definitely discuss these later in this video. But for now, let's look at the daily chart, right? In the daily chart, we talked about how we've been holding this 50-day simple moving average, which is a silver line. We've been holding this very well for really this whole run-up since it started in October, right? Since we started in October, this epic rally, we've either maintained above this silver line, the 50-day simple moving average on the daily chart, or when we come down, we've had strong bounce off the support level, right? Like over here and over here. Now, right now, I expect Bitcoin price to still stay above this level. And if we do roll over and come down, I expect us to touch this level and push off. On Wednesday, it was at 55. Now it's at 56,000, right? So 56,000 should be strong short-term support if we do end up rolling over. But however, part of the reason why we're facing some resistance is, of course, this Fibonacci level, which is another thing I want to talk about, right? Fibonacci levels tend to act as support and resistance level, right? Over here, we had a strong resistance level, and it took us about a month to finally break above. When we did break above, we had a strong, clean break above, right? Now, when we did come down, we did find support at this lower channel of the same Fibonacci channel, right? That this was trapped in between for about a month. When we finally broke above, we pushed up pretty easily, but of course, the price likes to come down and retest these levels, right? So this support level of the next Fibonacci level or channel, and finally, when we came up, after finding support. By the way, another thing is these areas of confluence, which I like, is when these moving averages and the Fibonacci comes together, right? So at this point, we had the support level, the price coming down to the support level of this Fibonacci channel. Also, at the same time, we had the 50-day simple moving average coming up. So when these things touch together, it tends to act as strong support or resistance level, depending on where the price action is at. This ended up being really strong support, and we saw a strong bounce and a nice lead into the next channel, right? Now we just have a little bit of resistance here, but we finally broke through. But of course, after a big strong breakthrough, the price likes to come down and retest these support levels, right? So we retested the next Fibonacci level, which is to act as support. And really over the last 2 months, we've been going sideways, consolidating, right, within this channel, and of course finding resistance around around $60,000. And I talked about how I wanted us to have a clean break above 60,000, which is coincidentally around this same resistance level of this Fibonacci. And of course, we're seeing a bit of pullback now, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I also talked about how when Bitcoin consolidates, it tends to store energy that it just eventually when it's unleashed, will explode higher, right? So when Bitcoin was sideways for about a year, we stored a lot of energy, and then we had this incredible break above. So we've been pretty much ripping for like the last 6 months, 6 to 7 months, right? As you can see on the monthly chart, just an epic rally, right? But I also talked about how it's healthy even in a bullish year like we had in 2017 and 2013 to have just a couple of red months every now and then, right? Because that's going to keep this market under control instead of it peaking too soon, right? We want to have some profit taking, we want some pullbacks once in a while. So I also talked about how I was expecting a red month either this month or next month, right? sooner rather than later, because even though we had this incredible rally, I do think it's healthy for us to pull back a little bit. I do think that we will have support around the 50-day, but we've been spending a lot of time in this channel that if we do eventually break above, I think it's going to be a strong break, right? So the next level I'm expecting actually is around 80,000. And another reason why is if you look closely, every time we have a strong move, right, this is what we call an impulse move, right? After consolidation, we have a strong impulse move, right? Consolidation, impulse move, consolidation, impulse move. We tend to move in $20,000 increments, right? Here's 20,000 right here. Consolidate, impulse move up to around 40,000, and then we consolidate and then push up to 60,000, right? So if we just follow that logic, the next impulse move after this long consolidation period should be around 80,000, which is why I think 80,000 could be our next resistance level, or the next level where we might see a bit of a pullback, right? So the question I guess now is, are we going to continue moving sideways, or are we going to finally push above? And of course, we're going to have to look at the chart and see how that develops, because nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. But I do think what Bitcoin's doing right now, going sideways, is good for the market, because if you look closely, even though we're consolidating, we're still making higher lows, right? Higher lows and higher highs, and we're also finding support above this level of this 50-day simple moving average, our short-term support level. Even though we have a bit of resistance here, I think that there's a good chance that we might trend this resistance level for a while, a couple of days before we finally explode higher towards 80,000, which is my next target, right? So overall, based on the technicals, short term to medium term, I am feeling bullish on the price of Bitcoin. Now, of course, we talked about something else for the last month, which is the Pi cycle top indicator crossing, right? We finally had a cross on Tuesday, which we talked about on Wednesday. Now, the question is this going to predict a short-term top, and are we going to see a bit of a pullback, or will this predict a bear market? And on our last video, I talked about I don't think that this is going to be the next bull market. This is not going to be the start of the next bear market, but we might see some resistance or even a small pullback, right? Maybe not as bad as we saw in mid 2013, where we had two crosses, but maybe like some resistance, maybe a small pullback to the 50-day simple moving average before pushing up higher, right? Now the question is this going to be a false positive? Is this going to be a cross that does not predict a short-term top? And is this going to be an invalidated indicator? And to answer that question, we have to look at this is supposed to call the top within 3 days, right? Now it's been 3 days since Tuesday, right? Today's Friday, and so I think it's a good idea to wait until Monday to see if this thing is going to be a false positive, and I'll definitely update you guys then. But yeah, because in the past we've had times where it's crossed, and within 3 days the trend of the market start to come down, right? So that means by today we should see, if this thing is accurate, we should see the price of Bitcoin start to come down over the weekend. So this weekend is going to be very crucial, because if Bitcoin does start to roll over, this thing is going to look more likely that it's going to look more accurate, like it is predicting a short-term top, right? But if Bitcoin continues to push higher over the weekend, right, instead of rolling over, then of course this is going to be wrong. It's going to be wrong. It's going to be a false positive. It's going to cross but continue higher, and this will be an invalidated indicator, right? So it's gonna be very interesting to see how this plays out, and I'll definitely update you on Monday to see whether this thing can actually predict a short-term top, or this will be a false positive, as I predict it will be. Another interesting news today is Bitcoin tumbled. So this is another reason why we saw a bit of a pullback this morning. Besides, of course, reaching resistance here at this Fibonacci resistance level, was that Turkey basically said they were going to ban crypto payments, citing that as risky. Now, so Bitcoin tumbled 4% on Friday after Turkey's central bank banned the use of cryptocurrencies, saying that it's irreparable damage and transaction risk. Now, this is very ironic, right? Because this year, Turkey's currency actually suffered a pretty big drawdown, right? 10% basically, their currency plunged. And we talked about this in a previous video last month, but yeah, basically their currency is very unstable right now, and people want cryptocurrencies. They want to go into something that's actually not going to lose value, right? They can't be printed away and become worthless. So obviously the government in Turkey see cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin as a threat, and so they want to ban Bitcoin. But as we see many times, like every time a country tries to ban Bitcoin, even though it might have a short-term pullback, right, it always ends up going higher, because you can't stop Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is not centralized, it's decentralized. No government, no one entity, it's not sovereign, right? There's no nation that controls Bitcoin. Bitcoin is for everybody, and there's no way to stop Bitcoin unless you like shut down the internet, or something happens and all of human civilization is gone, right? So Bitcoin at this point is unstoppable. Just to summarize, Bitcoin by the end of the year, I believe, will go up to $100,000. So, but we're trying to figure out what the path is. Are we just going to go straight up? We're going to go straight down? In my opinion, as I discussed in this video today, I do think we might consolidate a little bit more on this resistance level of the Fibonacci channel like we have in the past. But eventually we're going to break through, and we're going to break through strong, and we're going to head to, in my opinion, the next big resistance level is going to be 80,000, and then that's just going to be another step along the way up to $100,000. So that's it for Bitcoin today. Of course, with the Pi cycle top indicator crossing on Tuesday, 3 days ago, I will update you again on Monday to see if the price of Bitcoin actually crashed according to what this says it should happen. If that doesn't happen on Monday, then we'll know for sure that this is a false positive and this is not a valid indicator. At least predicting the future, right? Because we also talked about how this was created in April 2019 after these peaks already happened. So if this thing does not crash by Monday, then we'll know for sure that this can't predict the future, and we can leave this indicator behind us. And the only reason I'm going over this is because everybody's talking about it. It's a very popular indicator, but yes. So I'll update you guys again on Monday, and we'll see how the price action develops between now and then. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, informative, useful, please like this video, please leave a comment below, and please subscribe for updates. Thank you all again for your support, and have a great weekend.